welcome back to Contact, Space Engineers Survival, a series where, well, we just did a bunch of stuff and we're going to do more stuff. And I figure we'll start the stuff off with a quick little tour because things are different. That thing, I think? I can't remember for sure. So you can tell me as I show you around what I think I did. First, I'm gonna go down here. These stairs may have existed, or I may have adjusted them. They just help reposition things up there here because this did exist. I just need it. So yeah, we've got our little control area. I have this button now that has, well, buttons on it. Except for that one. We'll fix that later. Back here, I have an airlock, which may or may not have been a thing. And beyond the airlock is this little area, which, probably not in this video, but I have plans for this in the future. So popping down here, I put this nice button panel in so I can control things, and I think this does, yep. This does do stuff, though not quite correctly. And turn off the lights to save power, and partially avoid flicker if I don't need it. And then the biggest thing, the pipes. You'll notice, well, you'll notice an awful lot. First, you'll notice that the pipes are completely different than they were. Maybe you'll first notice they're built. That's also different than they were. But they also are different blocks. Because I looked at it, I built them all in these guys. And that sort of worked, but I don't know, it just wasn't dramatic enough. So I came through, ground out, it was easy to grind them out, place these guys in, and then, well, welded it all up. So yeah, are these? Yep, these are all welded and are, I don't think they existed. Again, I kind of wanted to have, you know, make this look sort of official and pipeliney. So I've got big beefy supports, got tubes. I do have the first base defense gun, which is a pretty hefty gun, but I figured why not? Yeah, this corner seemed like a perfect little spot to stick a thing. So I used heavy armor. Is this whole thing heavy? Yes, it is. As a sort of defensive point with a repair welder, which should probably be on. Interesting. I can see the little... Oh, nope. If I get just the right angle, I can look at that. But yeah. So we have one gun facing out sort of that way into that opening. So that's good. We have our lights, of course, lighting up everything. Our pipe going up to the base. Yeah. And I think that's more or less, I added lights up here, which, well, that side's doing something. Yeah, I think that is pretty much all that's happened. Now, I have two sort of different trajectories I could go on today. I need to get gravity reset up. I probably should fill the holes in the base. Still need to get that reactor fixed. I also, what was it? Was this way? Yeah. I also need to finish to build the little docking point in here. Which actually, what I'll do first, just because I'm curious. Let's disconnect the Stingray. I have this grand plan for the Stingray and where it will live, but I've not actually tested to verify that, you know, fits in the hole. So I think what I'll do here, let's just see if we can fly in, see how easy that is. Remember that we're stationed, shouldn't be. So yeah, let's see if we can actually fly through this hole, or if I'm just kind of pipe dreaming, hoping that I can park in here. It looks big enough. I mean, it'll be tight, but it's probably not horrible. What is my widest? So my widest point is actually at the nacelles. So that'll be the thing to consider. Wanna be... yeah, probably at this sort of angle. Okay. It's looking good. The real question will be the guns. Oh, but that side's passed through. Yeah. Okay. Probably takes a little bit of maneuvering, but we definitely fit in here. Sweet. So yeah, when docked, that will give us a little bit more security, and this also gives me a pretty good idea of where I'll need to be putting docking things. Alright, so with that, I'm back to indecision. I can either get the base worked on, or I think what I'm gonna do, let's do some quick repairs on the baby B, or baby M, because the other thing, so if I press Alt and overwhelm us with information, you can see I've got a lot of GPS markers for materials. And I did, in sort of in between episodes, go out and do some material scouting just to see what I could see, and I found pretty much everything I'll need in various quantities and whatnot, but I should have everything except uranium. I don't know where uranium is. I didn't find any nearby. Ooh, that's an important bit to be broken. Yeah, I didn't find any, so I think what we're going to need to do is jump further out, or I guess jump in general out, look somewhere that isn't local, and probably just kind of keep doing that until I get lucky. I have in the past, when looking for uranium, learned that there are places where it's more common than others. So if I get desperate, I may fly back towards Mars, and I believe there's sort of a radius around Mars orbit where you tend to get it more, but that's a pretty fair way away. That would probably be at least 2 jumps into Maluga, which, yeah, doable, but not super ideal. Granted, I also only need uranium once in a blue moon. I don't even really need it right now. I just kind of want to know I have a source before I go crazy. Okay. Everything should now be back up and running on here. Gravity is still incorrect. I need to adjust. Let's undock and then adjust the lights on this thing. I think it's the external lights are way too bright. I guess that's the issue. They're at max offset, but the radius is cranked up so I can see. So it means inside there's a massive amount of light. So maybe that. We're just gonna cheat a little bit. There we go. There are lights visible, so you can imagine that's where the light's coming from, even though in reality it's coming through the walls. So again, I'm pretty sure I've scouted everything sort of visible. Is there a camera on here? I don't think there is. So that's got stone, and a smidgen of iron. Oh no, there is a camera. Oh. And it's on my hot. Ah. Okay, there is a camera, it's just poorly positioned. You can tell I've not actually had to scout anything in this. Yeah, because of that light. Let's just do that. So, basically what I'm looking for is a mark way over on the left side, and then one following it. If I'm getting marks over there, could be magnesium, but if it's like fully against this outer wall, that's uranium. This guy does not have it. Let's take a peek down at these, and then I think we'll jump. Cobalt, which is nice. Not helpful to me, though. Don't need it to be a big jump. I basically just want to get out enough to see asteroids that are new. I think, for the heck of it, we'll go towards Mars. Hoping that chances increase the closer we get. Alright. Here's some asteroids. Ooh. Close. That's magnesium. Which I think do I have? Yeah, I see an MG marker in the clutter. Is that? Yeah, that's changed. That's iron. Down there. The one downside with scouting asteroids this way, it is a little tricky to tell what you're doing and to know that you're not repeating, because you kind of, there's 360 degrees that you can look at, even if you try and do in a pattern, which I just screwed up because I missed this guy the first time. Even if you try and do a pattern, it's pretty easy to get lost as to where you've been and where you haven't yet looked. Because you aren't actually flying to it, you can't make a marker. Oh, hold on a minute. I think we've got pay dirt. Okay. We've definitely got ice spikes, we've got stone spikes, and I'm seeing what looks to line up perfectly. We've got that far edge spike. Okay. Oh, and conveniently, that's going back closer, ever so slightly, back closer to home. Okay. Hopefully, there's a reasonable quantity of uranium on here. Because that's the other thing. I may find some uranium, but if it's just like a little spot of it, like one little dimple, divot. I tried to say them both, and it didn't work. Yeah, hopefully there's enough here to make it worth marking. I should mention, I'm not strictly low on uranium. I know I use it, and I could easily see myself, once I get everything fully powered up, I could see myself becoming low on it quite quickly. That said, if there's only a little bit on this asteroid, I may just mine it now and keep looking. Or mark it and come back and mine it. And not leave it as a marker. That way I'm light as can be for the scouting. Not seeing any immediate spots. I think I may just avoid those floating death rocks. I'm also going to stop in time, but and let's get closer, see what we can see. Oh, first person doesn't help me in this ship, I forgot. We'll try flying it. Looked like this goes through. Yeah. Ironically, this would have made another good home. It seems like most asteroids are pretty good if you want to stuff a base inside them in one way or another. Let's just fly ourselves through. See if we can pick up anything good. Okay, there's the ice. There's uranium. That's what I'm going for, so let's just go to it. Hello, uranium. It may be on the surface. Ooh. Let's... Let's go out and take a look-see. Oh, good. I was seeing that corner. I was like, if it's just a little circle that big around, and that's all the uranium. But no, this looks... Now, granted, this isn't a very large uranium deposit as uranium goes. Hopefully, I may do a quick little... Now that I know there's some, I may do a quick little loopy-loo around just to see if there's any more. Because in practice, that amount of uranium is probably one load. Now again, granted, one load of uranium for the Beluga is a pretty good amount, even with how little you get yield-wise. And it's looking like... there's not a ton of uranium elsewhere. That's fine. What I may actually do, let's find this ice. There it is. I may gather some of it since I'm out here. I'm doing alright in terms of stored oxygen and hydrogen, but those stores are potentially going to be running low. You know, as cheesy as it is, I should have a version of these warning LCDs on the outside, because I do spend most of my time out here, or do what I had on the old miner and have it send a chat message when full. Because yeah, being in here is rather unpleasant. Alright, cargo full. We are now heavily laden down. Let's get out of here. You may also notice the GPS for home has changed. So the base has been called on and off Nautilus Base. I think the actual grid name has been Space Base 1 or Large Grid 3X blah 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 blah. I kind of decided I think Nautilus Station is fitting, considering that we've now turned it itself into a sort of snail, or, you know, I guess a snail because it's in a shell. Point being, we put a station in a shell, so Nautilus seems even more fitting, being that the Nautilus is a snail. I think it may be a squid-type creature. Anyway, that's what it is now. Nautilus Base is now officially the Nautilus Base. Alright. Very awkwardly docked. And I am doing a little bit of damage to that refinery, so I may maybe I actually, it's less critical across the board, but maybe I switched the connectors down to the lower one, just so that with how I dock, that should keep the thruster out of harm's, or out of, you know, it should stop things from breaking, which is good. Well, we'll do that real quick. There we go. Little cockeyed, but everything should now be happy. Okay. Well, with that task done, I think the next thing I want to do is fiddle around with gravity generators in order to make gravity here work with my weird, well, multi-angled situmination. So, first thing, and I can actually, I don't think I'm going to bother with the repair projector because, well, it's easy enough to tell what needs fixing. And there'll be some heavy changes going on, so I might as well just do it manually.
Inventory full.
That's interesting. My inventory is not full, according to me, but I suppose you know best.
Inventory full.
I guess those grav components are hefty. Alright. Also, just because having played with the new spotlights now a little bit outside, I really prefer them to the old ones. For a lot of what I'm using the old ones for in here, at least. So I'll get rid of those. They'll probably come back as new ones, but that can happen later too. For now, I need to find a good spot. So, gravity, is that out of curiosity? Is this actually the center? Or is this one off? So that's 4 on that side. Okay, yeah, that is the center of the base. Oh, it's just that my doors are off center on the wall. That was confusing me. Anyway, I need to find a good spot for the grav gen that's preferably a bit lower down. So how I'm going to do the gravity in here is it's going to exist in sections. I need gravity out here that's preferably oriented this way. Then I've set up this airlock such that as I walk through, ideally it's hard to walk on stairs. Ideally the gravity transition occurs like around here-ish. So when I'm here, technically gravity will be oriented this way. But I can get on the ladders, start climbing. Good, and it does orient me the right way. But yeah, so I'll get on the ladders, start climbing down, and by the time I hit the bottom, gravity will be normal. I think maybe the best way to do this is going to be to change this guy over. Yeah, this should work. So if I do one of these, it will still, like, the piping is still piping, but I have a connection point where I can put the gravity down here. Like so. It also gives me a reason for this catwalk to still exist, because that is now the gravity access catwalk. Right, like so. So we can get out here. We can build it, even though I don't need the catwalk just to build it. But this should... Whoops. That should be in a better position so I can get gravity down to this level, which is the lowest I need it in the main base, and up to maybe about here-ish. Nope. Gravity is not my friend yet. Okay. Negative acceleration. There we go. So to do that, I will adjust the height to say 50. How does that go? Okay, we still have grav there. 50's maybe too much. Oh yeah. So it almost works. The gravity transition is at the edge of the airlock here. So let's try 30 and see how that feels. The trick, if there is a little bit of overlap, I want it to be in an area that isn't, you know, where I'm going to be walking. Ooh, yeah, that's almost perfect. In fact, having gravity up here is probably nice, even though I don't need it. Now, how far out does it go? To there. I may leave the outer width. Partially because I plan on having in some, like over here, I was scouting it out. Up here is a perfect little spot for a gun. And I can do that by having, instead of this, having a tube basically drill into this wall a little bit. And then make a tunnel straight up with where I can put a ladder. It's basically a conveyor access area, but I think it'll be cool to be able to, you know, actually move along it and get to the gun placements. And gravity will help with at least some of that. So, okay. We've done that. Now, maybe I just do the same thing again. I don't love not having gravity generators sort of protected, because they are expensive blocks. And I don't think I'm gonna do, I think it'll be better from a convenient standpoint if I just kind of put them where they make sense and just hope they don't get shot. I mean, that said, they are expensive, but it's not like I'm hurting for material either. I'm in a completely brand new, untouched region of space, so I should be able to manage. It's okay.
Energy low.
The middle of out here seems to be here. Now that I have those catwalks, I can grind this fella out. Do my old trick again. And pop down a second gravity gen. So this one, we also want to do that. Field height, I'll probably also set just because I don't need it high. Width can be fine. This one, the important thing here is depth. And let's do that at 30 and see how things go. Okay, that's good on that end. I have gravity through most of the docking area, but it kind of cuts off. Let's see. Okay. Ow. So that works pretty well. In fact, I could probably extend it even further, get the very tip of out here, and it means that I have it doesn't end right at the end of the doors. Let's try 40. Okay. 40 is just enough that I can go diving off the end of the thing if I choose. And in here... Ah, that's pretty much... Hold on. I think that's a perfect transition. Yeah. There's no overlap. So you can see, if you watch the nav ball, I stay at 1G the entire time. It just flips 90 degrees orientation. Were there any overlap, you would see that artificial gravity. Granted, maybe you wouldn't, but there may be a tiny bit of overlap. Because we're at full burn on the gravity, in theory, it can't... No, it can go higher. So you'd see some addition, where it would ever so slightly be like, 1.5 G at 45 degrees as I go where they're both overlapping. Anyway, that's pretty sick. So I've got gravity out here. Just verify it goes down here. Yes. Pretty good height for everything. And then, when I want to go into the base, I just walk along my catwalk. Realize that that airlock is not set up correctly. So I go in. I can come through and close the door. In fact, I don't need that there because of where the gravity is. Can hop on my ladder, crawl down. And now I'm at the right orientation here. Sweet. So, the last thing to do is potentially figure out where that 0.92 was coming from that I saw briefly. Dunno. I don't think the Stingray... Does the Stingray still have gravity? I thought that blew up. Yeah, no. No gravity over here. The last thing to do is apparently I didn't set this to full is my issue. Ah, there we go. So the last thing is the gravity generator at the dry dock, which is easy because it's completely separate. I basically just need it to control gravity in this little tower area. And currently I don't think it overlaps, but it has too much area and it's kind of wasteful. 5 is too little. Let's go 40 by 40 and just see what we're working with. Maybe 100 on that. Yeah. Okay. I want a little bit more. $45. That's too much. 45. Yes. So now everywhere I go in here will have plenty of gravity. I should... Yep, have gravity down here. And out here. And all the way down here where I don't need it anymore. Sort of in a thin column. That should be good. That means that the gravity over here won't interact with the gravity over here. It also means that down here, because of how I've set that one, there's no gravity, which I think works for the sort of utility ship dock, where I'm obviously not walking out to them. So the last gravity thing will involve over here. That'll be... I need to rotate myself, well, to this orientation for this dock. But I should be able to do that. The transition is going to be weird. That won't be comfortable. I can walk along the rock for a bit. I may build myself a little path. And then over here is going to get weird. And I think that'll come next time. So yeah. Again, a little bit of progress this week, but that's the way things have to be. We have made good progress. We've got every ore available now. Gravity is all set up correctly. I've got airlocks, even though I don't have a pressurized main base at the moment. All that's set up, ready to go. What I may do is, well, probably nothing in between episodes. So we'll come back next week and continue probably fixing up the base and probably building the dock for the Stingray. I don't think we're going to get around to the Stingray refit just yet. But that is coming in the not near future. Semi-near, mid-near future. So stuff to look forward to. Anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to check out the other stuff I've done, and until next week, bye-bye.